Welcome back to Recruiter.com. In this next video on charts, we're going to continue going over that same last example using pie charts, and then we're going to wrap it up with an intro into Sparklines. All right, so we're back to the same revenue by product line data table here. And this time we're going to go ahead and take a look at this data up here using a pie chart and a donut chart. And notice first thing when I selected this donut chart that it's only representing year 2018. So in a donut chart, what we're doing here is we're slicing it up into percentages. So we can't really reflect that over 2-year period. You can see that my donut chart now has 2 layers now and 2 sets of data labels, which makes it difficult to read. So this is best suited to look at 1 year at a time. And then if you want, you can drag this over to whatever year you want to look at. So let's go ahead and make these. Let me go ahead and delete both of them. And first things first, delete this top left header. And then we're going to select the data, Control-Shift down, Shift back up 1, Insert. And then we're going to go this time into a pie chart first. And I'm going to pull it over here. And notice that I actually screwed up. I should not have selected all the data. I should have pulled it only to 1 year. And Excel is looking at 2014 as the data here. So we want to flip-flop this. So I'm going to switch the rows and the columns. And then now we get a better representation. We can slide this over if we'd like to 2018. I'm going to make this a little smaller here too. And there, the first thing is done, selecting and inserting our chart. That's complete. We need to now auto style it. Let's come over here to this paintbrush, to our chart styles. Scroll down till you see the one that you like, or just hover over them. And I kind of like this one, so I'm going to grab this one right here. And that's complete. Now I need to auto layout. So I'm going to go to the Design tab on the ribbon, Quick Layout, to see where I want to have my elements laid out on this. And this one looks good, so I'm going to select that. And you can't really see this right now, but the 2% right here is actually falling off the graph. So I'm going to bring that down here. And now I can check out my auto layout. Now here we're at the time consuming part. It's the customization. So any other customizing that you want to do, any little tweaks, this is the time to do it. We've done as much as we can with Excel to automatically format it nicely for us. So quickly, I'm going to make this say equals my revenue by product line. Hit enter. It's populated now. I'm also going to round these edges. So I'm going to select just the chart and hit Control-1 so our format task pane will appear. And because we selected the chart, it's selecting on chart options. If I hit this down arrow, I could change my selection to, instead of the chart area, I could do something to my chart title or any type of options for filtering for the legend, the plot area, the series, and so forth. So by selecting here and then doing Control-1, I'm automatically saying, hey, I want to look at all the options that I have for formatting my chart area. So all I need to do is pop down the border because I want to switch the border from being a square edge to having rounded corners here. Now notice if I click another thing such as the pie here, if I select the pie, the task pane automatically switches from that chart area to format the data series. So my series options is populated. If I pop down, it's looking at series 2018, which is referring to this up here. Now, what can we go ahead and do to the actual pie? Well, we can spin the pie so that the starting doesn't look directly at this small sliver. We can slowly spin it. And maybe if we want to spin it even further, we could start it at showing like that 40%, something a little bit more substantial that people would want to see, which is the camping. Then if we wanted to go further, we could go ahead and do some pie explosion, which seems a little weird, that name, but really it just puts those gaps in between each slice of the pie. And so I typically use this only if I want to pull out a piece of the pie. So let's see this hunting slice. I can select just that slice and notice that only these 3 corners are selected now. So that's saying only the hunting slice. And if I explode that out from the rest of the pie, it really just pulls it out of there. So that's what that does. Let me go back to selecting the entire pie real quick. And I want to show you one thing. So in the effects here, it's a little difficult to tell, but right now around this pie, there's actually a shadow being cast, and that's from our auto styling. So when I pop down here on our effects in the shadow, you can see that we already have some transparency, some size, some blur on these shadow options. So that's why it's a really good thing to go ahead and first use the auto styling, because Excel will automatically create this shadow, which will automatically give this pie chart a 3D look. I think we're done with this one, so I'm just going to close this out. Let's go ahead and create our next donut chart. This time I'm just going to select here and say insert a donut chart. And now at the beginning, we're on 2014. Let's go ahead and pull this over to 2018. And at the beginning, we are now done with the select and insert. Let's do some auto styling. We just need to grab this paintbrush here and come down to whichever one we like. And I think it's this one towards the bottom. Now that's complete. So let's go ahead and do our auto layout. Click the design tab on the ribbon, quick layout. I like to have my legend here on the right, so I'm going to select this one. Now we're done with auto layout. Let's go ahead and do the last piece, customization. What are we going to do here? Well, let's start with the easy stuff. So let's switch this. The title now needs to equal my revenue by product line. Hit enter. And let's spread this out a bit more. Let's press Control 1. Let's round these corners a little bit. So I'm going to come in here to borders, scroll to the bottom, round my corners checkbox. And for the fun of it, let's go ahead and just put a border on this legend here. So by clicking here, I'm now in my legend options to format my legend. So just look at the top to make sure what you're actually formatting, which element. And the element will be explicitly stated like it is here, saying legend. And we can do some paint bucket stuff, which is what we want to do. We want to put a border. We're going to say a solid line. What color do we want that? Well, we can do this blue, that's fine. If we want to change the width of the actual line to make it thicker, if we want to change the type of line, the styling of it, go ahead and get familiar with what Excel is capable of doing. But for right now, this is good enough. So I'm just going to close it out. And I think we're done. So I'm going to check off my customization is done. Now let's wrap this up by talking about this Sparkline column chart that I have here. And what it is here is a quick little chart that's in one cell. So I'm in actually H6. And this chart is being displayed for all 5 years here. And I've told Excel to highlight the highest year in blue instead of this green. So let's go ahead and set this up. I'm going to select here, Control minus, shift my cells up, hit enter. Now let's just start on one cell first. And with these Sparklines, it's completely different than over here with these charts. So the first thing that we're going to do, it's in the same place as charting. So it's Insert tab on the ribbon. And just to the right of charts, you see Sparkline. So we have a line, a column, or a win-loss. In this case, we're going to do this column. So I'm just going to select it once to create it. And it's saying, hey, which values do we want to display here in your column Sparkline? Well, that's simple. That's just these 5 years. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and I'm going to press OK. And the next thing I'm going to do is just copy it down, Control C, and then select the others, Control V to paste them. Now notice a couple of things. When I select here, there's a light blue. And when I select in here, all of these other ones are blue. Yet this one is not a part of it. So what Excel is saying is that these 4 are grouped together and this one is within a separate group. So to get them all in the same group, select them all, go up to Design tab on the ribbon and press Group. It's as simple as that. You could have also right-click, go to Sparklines and found Group here as well. Now that they're all grouped, it's kind of difficult to tell which product line here, camping through skiing, which one do we sell the most of? And so what we need to do now is we basically need to compare this apples to apples, meaning this vertical axis needs to be the same vertical axis for each Sparkline here. And to do that, since they're in a group, I can just select one of them. The group will be illuminated, and we can go to the Design tab on the ribbon and change up this axis so that the axis is the same for all Sparklines for the minimum, and then the same thing for the vertical axis for the maximum value, same for all Sparklines. That will then compare each row apples to apples, and we'll easily be able to tell that skiing is our number 1 product line. The last thing I want to do here is go back into the Design tab on the ribbon. I want to highlight our high points. So when I did that, I have a red for our high. Let's go ahead and change the design. So let's pop this down real quick and let's switch that up so that it's blue and then the rest are greens.